WrestleMania Night 1 and why it was so much worse than we expected. Let's get into it. We start the awe-inspiring show of WrestleMania from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. We start it with the six-man match between IShowSpeed, The Vision, Logan Paul and Austin Theory versus LA Knight and the Usos. Now, we knew this was going to be the starting match of the night. I'm not sure what to expect as far as the Usos are concerned anymore. Great tag team, well, always a great tag team, but it seems like something has been lost as far as the Usos are concerned. They don't seem to be the same tag team anymore. Jay doesn't seem to be the same wrestler ever since he lost the world title. It just doesn't seem to mesh and gel anymore. I very much expected IShowSpeed and The Vision to win that match. Very surprised at the way the match ended. IShowSpeed looked good, but I mean, for all the training he's been doing, he could have done a little bit more. Although, again, the way he ended the whole segment altogether was that was great. He clearly has something as far as performance goes. You look at his face, you look at some of the expression, he really does, at times, sell very well. And then at times, it's like, you missed the sell completely. You should have sold and you didn't sell. Other than that, I mean, I can't say it was all that great a match. Blink and you'll miss. I felt like the matches were really short all throughout the whole show. So this match was another one of those very, very short, very quick, blink and you'll miss it. And I think it was more something to just kind of keep fans. It was fun and entertaining, almost like Night 1, Danhausen or something like that. It wasn't necessarily the greatest match. There was nothing to write home about it. So, yeah. That brings us to the segment with Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre, something I was very much looking forward to. I always said a Scotsman versus Samoan, what could go wrong? They put on a great performance together, I would say. I would have said, listen, that was the match of the night. That's my award winner for best match of the night, was Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre. Congratulations, gentlemen. I thought it was a good match. I thought it could have been better. I have seen better street fights. I must say the match between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk was probably a better match. And that's hard for me to say, especially considering who the competitors in this match was. I expected a lot more from them. It's great that Drew McIntyre can put over someone like Jacob, who indeed won the match. However, I feel like there has been quite some diminishment of Drew McIntyre's character during the whole, well, ever since COVID, I believe, since he dropped the title at COVID, there's been something diminished about his character. This was the man who successfully took on Brock Lesnar and looked good doing it. And now he is someone who gets beaten far too easily and far too regularly in the WWE if you're trying to create monsters. And Drew McIntyre indeed being the mountain that you have to climb, I don't think it's great. I don't think it was the best possible outcome and the way it should be done. So the winner of that match, of course, was Jacob Fatu. I have no problems with that being the winner of the match. I just felt like the match being an unsanctioned match, it could have really just been a better match. All that. That, of course, led us to the tag team title bout, four-way tag team title bout between Alexa Bliss and Charlotte, Lash and Nia, Lyra and Bayley, and, of course, Bella Twins. Now, I spoke in one of my last videos, and I spoke about the fact that there was an injury report. Certain people were not exactly fully cleared yet. Those people included Roxanne Perez, Liv Morgan had a few issues, Yo had a few issues, and of course, most importantly, Nikki Bella. Now, as it turned out, Nikki Bella was not cleared for in-ring action, so would in fact miss her WrestleMania spot and WrestleMania match with her sister Brie for the tag team titles. What that responded into was the return of Paige. So happy about that. So happy about the return of Paige. I've been a lifelong fan of Paige. I've always loved Paige's work. I mean, there's not much more I can say about that. There's not too much more to say about that. Obviously, a big fan of the Brits. And for me, that makes Paige my Tea of the Night. Yeah, so Paige returning, that was an absolutely awesome moment. I had not heard anything about it. I had not heard any reports, nothing, nowhere. The return of Paige caught me completely surprised. So, Tea of the Night, thank you very much. That led us to AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch for that Intercontinental title. Once again, I don't believe there was a surprise here. I don't think AJ Lee is back for a long period of time. So I expected Becky Lynch to pick this title back up again. I see AJ Lee disappearing from the roster for a little while. Well, not a little while, for good, to be honest with you. I don't think this was a full return. I just thought she wanted to do a couple matches and hang around with her husband a little bit and be around a company, maybe see some old heads, some old faces, a little bit of nostalgia. I don't think this was a full return for AJ Lee. So it's not insane to expect that Becky Lynch was always going to win this title. She was always going to pick it up and she was always going to move forward, and then they're going to try and integrate whoever onto the roster after. I think what Becky Lynch is doing with the Continental title is very, very interesting, because if we look at the fact that her being a mother now, and the position that she's in, I guess she wants more time to herself and fighting in the heavyweight sphere, battling for that superstar brass ring is probably not conducive to raising a family the way she wants to. So being something like a mid-card player who has all the fanfare, well, and gusto of a main event player, is probably the best sphere for her to stay as far as what's important for her and her family at this point. So I quite like what Becky Lynch is doing in that respect. Speaking of Becky Lynch, that brings us to the segment with Seth Rollins and Gunther, obviously Becky Lynch's husband. Now, I expected a fairly decent match. I didn't expect anything special. I myself understand what it's like to come back from injury. It takes a little bit of time to get into the rhythm of whatever you're doing. It takes a little bit of time to feel safe on whatever limb or portion of your body that you hurt in the first place. You tend to be a little bit more careful about that part of your body. And I think that's exactly what happened with Gunther and Seth. I fully expected Seth to win the match as a return match. That's not what we got. That's not what we got. What we got was a win by Gunther, which is understandable in itself to a certain extent. But I think the returning superstar, who is in fact the face at this point during this feud, left as a heel essentially, or partly, and has come back as a face. Now, I would have thought that that would mean that he would pick up the victory. Maybe there's a bigger story brewing there. And considering, I think if Seth comes back, maybe it isn't the best idea for him to start feuding with the Vision again. Maybe he needs to go his own way. And I felt that way very strongly until, of course, we got the re-emergence of Bron Breakker, who interfered in the match to cause the end of the match. So it seems like that feud isn't quite over. Bron Breakker is now back. Very, very, very surprised at that, considering the injury that he did. But indeed, he is back. Don't know if he is fully fit yet, but the two spears he hit would suggest that he is, especially the last one when he came running down the ramp, because that could have ended very dangerously for him himself. So because of that, I think he's probably in great shape. We're probably leading to a grudge match at our next pay-per-view between Bron Breakker and Seth Rollins. Both will be in better shape. Both will be fitter. Lack of a better word. I say that, I mean free of injury. That brings us to the match between Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer. Now, I think after a while and after looking at this kind of feud between them, I start to realize why this looks so personal. And I believe quite literally this has looked and gotten so personal because of Liv's face. If you look at Liv's face, she's the one picked for movies. She's the one picked to do music videos. That face is her moneymaker. And throughout whatever segments they did in the promotion of this match, Stephanie did an absolute number on Liv's face. You can see it. It lasted for over a fortnight. Her face still looks like that. So I think that's where the person comes from, especially with girls. They're not gonna take well to you doing their face like that. So yeah, contact sport, you understand accidents happen, but what she essentially did to her face was just. And I'm a huge Stephanie Vaquer fan. I'm a huge Liv fan. I think accidents happen. I understand it. I also know that Liv Morgan has always been raised in a polished product of WWE. She never worked for anyone else. Stephanie Vaquer has worked for everyone else, and it's a more brutal, rougher upbringing. They talk about their paths, but I think there's more to that, considering the fact that Stephanie Vaquer tried out for WWE and wasn't accepted many years ago. So she went through that rough, tough path to get to WWE and finally did. She is a considerably tougher individual. Maybe not tougher individual. Maybe tougher individual is not the right word, but she comes off with a little bit more of a rough edge, no matter how aesthetically beautiful she is. And I think that was it, in a sense of what she kind of did to Liv Morgan's face. Liv Morgan has not responded well to that, and it seems like that's where a lot of the fire came from. I'd say it was a pretty good match. It was a very well worked match, I thought. No surprise in the ending of the match. I always called that. And I also read the injury reports that spoke about Roxanne Perez being injured. That showed that Roxanne Perez was going to play some part within the match, as she clearly did. Part of the distraction that led to the loss for Stephanie Vaquer. So yeah, I mean, no surprises there. I always knew Liv was going to be the new champion. Congratulations, Liv. which took us to what I am calling the best promo section. So in the Triple Crown Awards, this is my best promo section, and this went to Bianca Belair. We finally get an explanation as to why Bianca Belair has been missing from action. We understood that the finger, that issue, something went wrong with that, but ever since then, it still didn't make sense as to why she has not returned to the roster. That baby bump is at least, that looks like 3 months, I would say. So somewhere around that. So yeah, we finally get an explanation as to why we've had no Bianca Belair back. And I say congratulations to Bianca and Tez. Hashtag give Tez a chance. So I believe that it's good to see this. And perhaps I actually hope that we don't see Bianca back for a while. I hope she takes the time to spend with her family. If we get Bianca back in 4 to 6 years, maybe that's a better option than having her rush back after a pregnancy. Maybe even more than 4 to 6 years. It will be a very long time, fingers crossed, before we see Bianca Belair again, because obviously, you know, family means more than us as the fans wanted to see Bianca Belair. So yeah, congratulations again to Tez and Bianca, and wish them all the best. That brought us to the main event of the night, which was Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Universal title. So I'll be quite honest, I was surprised with the ending of this match. I was also surprised by the start of this match, but for two entirely different reasons. It was only as the competitors came to the ring and I watched Pat McAfee that I thought it might be cool if Randy Orton hits an RKO on Pat McAfee. It is what the fans kind of want. After doing the fans so dirty and what they did actually want, it might be a good idea to give them a little bit of what they want, which would be to RKO Randy Orton. Instead of what we got in that situation was a crossroads and being put through the table by Jelly Roll hit Pat McAfee with an elbow. It was a beautiful sight. That was absolutely awesome on the part of Jelly Roll. Just the way Jelly Roll even appeared was absolutely awesome. I thought that was great. Towards the end of the match, we ended with the RKO on Pat McAfee after his return. It made sense to me. I kind of felt like it was coming at some point. As I said, I felt like it was coming at the start of the match. So watching that happen was kind of some kind of validation. As to why Randy Orton lost the match, I don't quite understand. As to why they did the angle with the back injury, I don't quite understand. That made no sense whatsoever and didn't seem to need to be there unless they were given a logical reason as to why Cody was able to beat Randy, diminishing the what is the greatness or the power or however you want to say it or of Cody Rhodes. I don't think that was particularly a good idea. But they did it all the same, and it led to something a little bit more interesting. I'll give them some credit. They worked very hard to make that work. And that brings us to the end of our review for night one. Up next, my review of night two.